Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We offer stories of infidelity, betrayal, and redemption. Please like and subscribe if you are enjoying what you are hearing. Now, on to today's story. Desperate for help. My wife asked for an open relationship, and now it's consuming her life and she's being dishonest. Cry for help. I apologize that this is so long, TL, doctor. I'm just worried about losing my best friend, my marriage, and the life we have because my wife has become addicted to our open relationship. I'm just looking for advice from people who have been through this before, since there are days recently where I have felt suicidal, insufficient, and simply worthless because of this. How it happened: 2 weeks ago I came home and my wife of 2 years asked me to come into our room. She was nervous, asked me to turn off the lights, told me she wanted to ask me something, then got right to the point and asked about opening up our marriage. I immediately assumed it was something about me she was unhappy with, as any guy surely would think, but she began explaining that it was stemming from us meeting when she was 18 and being together for 10 years, and how she missed out on her youth and experiencing different people. I was shocked but not entirely against the idea. Although I felt kind of emasculated, it was kind of hot to imagine this life for us. I met my wife at a time in her life when she was 18, she's now 28, I'm now 32, and suffering very bad depression and anxiety, and when I myself was severely depressed and losing my dad to health issues, so having each other helped, and we established an amazing friendship which ended up turning into our marriage. But since 2019 my wife has been in therapy working through her depression, and it's helped her tremendously. She has become the real her and I've seen her finally happier than ever, but my concern is the therapy has in turn made her realize she is deep down unhappy with me. We agreed to open up our marriage, but almost immediately she started showing the signs I was worried about. She signed up for Tinder, got, literally, thousands of guys liking her profile in less than a week, dozens of guys Snapchatting her and messaging her. Her phone hasn't gone 30 seconds without vibrating. It's been 2 weeks now and she probably spends 12 hours a day on her phone talking to guys, and it's like this every day. She isn't working right now, so she told me it's just what passes her time. I've told her many times it's consuming her life and she gets angry, telling me she needs to vet the guys out before hooking up with them. She did find one guy, I'll call him Frank, she was comfortable with, who lived 5 minutes away. I had told her I was okay as we opened up our marriage, but I repeatedly said to use a condom. She told me to stop being overbearing, as if I was acting like a dad worried for his kid, and that she wasn't stupid and would use a condom, etc. Well, she got home later that night, told me they had sex twice at his place, and that the guy didn't use a condom. She's not on birth control, so I was livid. No condom. And twice. I started shaking, sweating, and took a 4 hours drive to clear my head. I told her I didn't want her seeing that guy again. She defended him at first, saying they were drunk and he probably pulled out. That pissed me off and I got super angry, and she realized the guy took advantage of her and agreed not to see him again. Fast forward a few days, I find my wife drunk, naked and passed out on the floor upstairs where she had been Snapchatting guys. Her phone was open and it turns out she had been texting this Frank guy, and secretly agreed to see him on Thanksgiving night after literally promising me hours earlier she was done with him. I threw her phone across the house, told her I'm done and that if this continued we were getting a divorce. She wasn't taking herself seriously, our marriage seriously, or me seriously. She started bawling, crying, apologizing, saying she effed up, etc. I left and didn't come back until the next morning. I parked my car a few miles from our house on a street next to a train track and thought about driving in front of the next Amtrak train. I was watching our friendship, our marriage, our dreams of a family, and our trust drift away, and it gutted me. We talked a lot the next day and I planned a classic date night for us to rekindle our own love. a nice dinner at one of our favorite Italian restaurants and a movie like Old Times. She promised me the night was ours and that she would put away the phone for our time together. However, the whole time she was getting ready for our date, she was sending pictures of her outfit to guys. She sent a picture of her dish at the restaurant to guys, then a picture of her at the movies to someone as well. She tried to hide it by quickly snapping the pictures and sending them a few minutes later. Also, the entire car ride from the restaurant to the movies she was texting guys. I was broken inside and felt so low. She kept asking me, "What's wrong? Why are you acting weird?" As if she was so clueless. This week she had set up plans to see guys Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, all before she leaves next week for 6 days to visit family. I called her out saying she was taking all of our time away, and again she got angry. How can she spend 5 of 6 nights away from me with other guys? That's not an open relationship, that's a one-sided relationship with someone who doesn't value my time anymore. On top of that, and the reason I posted this, I found out that before asking to open our marriage she had rekindled an old friendship from years ago with a guy she knew and was texting/sending nude pics to him behind my back. They talked about the fantasy of hooking up, and that is ultimately why my wife asked to open the marriage. She wanted to experience this guy and claimed she has no real chemistry with him but just wants to experience him. My wife's going to New Jersey next week to visit family, where he also lives, and I guess she wanted to meet up with him then. So now I am thinking she sprung the open relationship on me as a way to safely cheat. As I write this, my wife is passed out in the bedroom because she spent much of the morning talking to another guy on the phone. I woke up and heard her in the bathroom at 5:30 a.m. talking to another guy. She's never not on her phone. Whether it's Snapchat, Tinder, texting, etc., she has become completely consumed by this. Vetting people out with text/Snapchat doesn't take 13 hours a day. She sets up meetings with guys almost every night, barely can hold a conversation with me anymore without jumping back to her phone, and she is just different. I am feeling distanced from my wife. I've expressed my concerns but don't know what to do. She's my best friend, and I've struggled to begin my journey with the open relationship. I met one person but have no desire to spend 8 hours per day talking to other girls. I just don't care that much. My wife is enough, but it's clear I'm not enough for her. She has shown a few signs of being deceptive and it's just not who I thought she was. She's always been the sweetest, kindest and most loving person I've known. I would so greatly appreciate input from any women and men here. This is new to me and she has taken this process from 0 to 1,000 overnight. I'm scared for her, and I'm scared for myself that our marriage is permanently damaged, and that I'm going to break. Thank you for reading this mess. This is not a healthy way to start ethical non-monogamy, ENM, or polyamory. There needs to be so many conversations in between. I think I'd like to be open and I have a date tonight. I guess it's possible to do that quicker, assuming a strong relationship and excellent communication skills in both partners, but it usually takes 6 months to 2 years before you're really ready to act on this. Y'all skipped a lot of steps. I would suggest closing the relationship to any sexual/romantic contact or interactions with anyone for a bit. Read some of the books/materials often recommended, Ethical Slut, More Than Two website. Talk about how you feel about each subject in the book. There's a jealousy workbook that's often recommended in this sub. Try that out together. Talk some more. Think about the ideal situation for each of you, including how to manage time. Talk about that. If after a year or more of reading and talking, you still want to open the relationship, then maybe try it out. But I'll be honest, I don't see it working out. Within 2 weeks, she has neglected your relationship and had unprotected sex and doesn't seem to think that either of these is a big deal. Those two items would be huge deals to me. If I can't trust that my partner will make reasonably good decisions and not risk their and my health by not taking big risks, at the very least, not informing me of the risk they took before we engaged in any sexual activity again, then I would be evaluating the relationship very hard. If she's not willing to close the relationship and do the work you both skipped, I don't see a happy ending for you two. Agreed. Breaking a condom contract is grounds for terminating any poly relationship. I've done that in the past every time. Great points, thank you. I definitely agree that the best choice is to close it up. She told me in the beginning that, if you ever want to stop it, it's over. But I've slowly realized every time I bring up concerns she gets angry, defensive, and tries to say that she is finally happy exploring her youth, etc. I feel like we need to end it or split up while she explores herself and fulfills whatever feelings she is in search of, and if we cross paths later on then we can work on being happy together. Don't ignore the fact that she sent nudes to an old flame before ever having the open marriage conversation with you. To me, that's cheating. She seems to have latched onto the idea of an open marriage/poly as simply a way to have her cake and eat it too. Exactly this. I really hate that she's warped this into her version of an open relationship, when it's really thinly veiled cheating. She ignited the old flame beforehand and that's what inspired her to talk to you. Seems like she was ready to cheat, and wanted to see if she could somehow do it without being in the wrong. Now that you gave your blessing so to speak, she's going to be super defensive about everything because you agreed to this. It's a tough spot. I'm sorry you're going through this. And then very quickly thereafter cheated by having unprotected sex when sex with a condom was agreed to. I wouldn't straight up say part ways, but I can't see the relationship not crash and burn unless she's willing to seriously address these issues, which is likely going to involve a ton of work. By all means give her the opportunity to fix things if you want, but she's got to want to fix them. Honestly, I think you shouldn't close the relationship. I think you should tell her that it's over between you and her and that you should live separately. And that if she wants she can work on fixing things between you and her. Meanwhile, I think you should give poly a shot. You've been reasonable, you've been open to it, you've set reasonable expectations. There are people out there who would respect those expectations. If you two have been together that long, then you might like taking time to explore this. I understand that it's hard to leave a 10-year relationship, but the behavior she demonstrated is not ENM or poly, it's just flat out disrespectful. It might be that she's going through something mentally right now, but it's clear that she needs to work that out on her own, because she's incapable of being a good partner to you right now. I'm sure that she's high off of all the male attention right now. It can be a big ego boost after so many years in a closed relationship not knowing if you've still got it, but that doesn't make it okay for her to act this way. Time with you should be time with you. She's putting you at risk for STIs and even more importantly COVID. I'd suggest moving out/finding separate living situations and making sure you have the mental health care you need and support from friends and family to get through this. She's holding auditions for your replacement. As soon as she finds one she really likes, she will tell you that she's in love with her paramour and you're out. Very good point. I've realized I've become the fallback if all else fails with her attempts to find something better. I'm not going to be a cushion to catch her fall. Either she is okay with me or she's not. I made this very clear to her tonight and it didn't fly well, sadly. She has clearly moved on. She crossed two of your boundaries, had sex without a condom and lying. What's the consequence? I will not be in a relationship with you if you continue to have sex without a condom. I will not be in a relationship with you if you lie. Just getting upset doesn't do anything. There have to be consequences for crossing boundaries, and you have to follow through on them, or else they are not boundaries. I've slowly realized this over the past 2 weeks. I think it took me that long to fully process that she did, in fact, cheat when she was developing that relationship with the first guy before ever asking for an open marriage. It finally sank in, and today I really had a realization that she is doing this for more than the reason of exploring her youth. That, combined with the other little pieces of dishonesty that came out recently. She is unhappy. I'm laying down boundaries that, if she crosses, I'll have to pursue divorce. I'd rather be single and alone than with someone who wants to spend less than 3 hours a day with me. Also, just to point it out, it's not be with her versus be alone. I mean, it can be, but that's your choice. It can also be with her versus be with someone else. It finally sank in, and today I really had a realization that she is doing this for more than the reason of exploring her youth. Honestly, it really could be just that, but don't discount how intense that longing is. It's neither of your fault, but our culture encourages pairing up ASAP and sticking with that person for life. You all were young when you got together. It's difficult finding out that the rest of the world determined your values for you before you really grew up or knew what you wanted. This is not to say that what she's doing is okay, it's not. She's going through an existential crisis, for sure, but that does not give her license to damage you in the process. There's exploring your newfound lifestyle, and then there's being extremely selfish to the point of damaging those around you. I feel like your wife is definitely taking it too far and might be overwhelmed by the attention/high she is getting from the new experiences. However, personally, her not using a condom, and then going back and forth on whether or not he pulled out, is a deal breaker for me. I would never want to be with someone who would put me at risk like that and then lie about it after promising the opposite. Also, passing out while doing this, and the odd hours, really does sound like an addiction, complete with lying and sneaking around. I am so sorry. I don't think this reflects on you at all. Your wife needs therapy to deal with whatever she is going through, even if it's just coping with the new attention and balancing her life and existing relationship with new ones. If you choose to put down firm boundaries like no seeing Frank, no sex without a condom, be firm and leave if she violates it at all. You deserve peace of mind, support, and most of all, basic respect and safety. Edit. Also, you can have boundaries like that, especially ones about safety and regarding partners that she previously has been dishonest about. It is okay to do that for yourself. Thanks so much for your reply. When I call her out for talking to so many people non-stop, she admits it's a high that she's on. But it doesn't stop. I agree though, when she told me she didn't use a condom, I became distanced from her so much, and I haven't been able to get the feelings back that I lost at that moment. And that's my biggest fear. This has slowly chipped away at us. She has adamantly told me she doesn't want to bring this up to the therapist she's seeing now, but I think she should. I need to be more firm on boundaries, and that if she wants this to continue, she needs to balance what we have before we lose it. I appreciate your input a lot. She's addicted and making reckless choices. After unprotected sex, she should have ceased all activity with everyone until she could get STD tested. She's on a path without you. It could be awful watching this unfold. I would separate. She has adamantly told me she doesn't want to bring this up to the therapist she's seeing now, as a therapist in training. The fact that she doesn't want to means it's the very thing she should be bringing up with her shrink. She knows her shrink is going to tell her to slow her roll, which is why she's avoiding that conversation. Just seconding it from my own experiences, it sounds like a textbook manic episode. I'm not a doctor though. Particularly her hiding her behavior from her therapist, not sleeping, hypersexuality and risk-taking, feeling like she's on a high. If I was in your shoes, I think I would have ended it immediately when she started arguing about the condom and whether he pulled out. It's a simple thing to do, but immensely important. She may be mentally unwell, but that doesn't mean you need to be romantically involved anymore. She broke trust multiple times, put you at risk, and then didn't care that she put you at risk. This is really painful, man. I'm sorry to hear you're going through it. Thanks, I've realized this for sure. She has had this sudden renewal of needing to be sexually desired. Having literally 5,000 people knocking at her door on Tinder puts a huge sense of grandiose delusion into her mind, and it is what is consuming her. What she doesn't realize is that 99.9% of guys on Tinder swipe every single girl, so of course she's going to be drowned in attention. But it's not her personality, her story, her smile, her heart, or her desires that those men want. It's her, sexually, at least in 9/10 cases. Being put at risk did it for me. I can't deal with someone dishonest who doesn't want any part of a marriage with me. I'm not going to financially and emotionally fund this journey for her. If she wants it, we separate and divorce. If she doesn't, we can work through it. Hey man. So a lot of people are already saying this is a problem, but I just want to quickly share my experience. I read your story and, outside of the part where your wife feigned regret, this could be my story. We opened our marriage for all the wrong reasons and it tore us apart. I literally barely survived 2019. If not for my daughter, I would most likely be dead right now because of the emotional torment I went through. I stayed and tried to make it work far too long, trying to find the woman I loved in the mess she had become, but the reality is that woman was gone. For me, it turned out my wife had bipolar and had been in a massive manic period. Looking back, there were a lot of signs we had ignored. I'm not saying that's your situation, but massive changes in personality aren't normal, and are usually the sign of something else. Here's my suggestion: you need to get away from this or it will consume you. You need to find a therapist that you vibe with, best case one that pushes you just enough to face your problems and deal with them. You need to start preparing yourself that your relationship with your wife has most likely run its course. No one wants to hear those words, but you two are on different paths. My guess is there were a lot more problems, on both sides, than you realized. Feeling worried that she wasn't happy with you is not a good thing, either. If you want to talk, I'll do what I can to help, but I really strongly suggest finding a professional, too. Therapy literally saved my life, and I'm now the happiest I've ever been and have found an amazing partner that loves and supports me in a way I never thought possible. This might be the end of one journey, but there's plenty more ahead. Thanks man, this hit home. I just feel so stupid for not setting any real boundaries ahead of time, and I am afraid we are at the point of no return. I blame her for the dishonesty that killed my trust in this process and in her, but I also blame myself for being naive getting into something like this. Since this started and since she became consumed by it, we literally haven't had a really normal discussion about anything. It's just awkward being around each other. We would take drives to the beach at night, go food shopping together, order takeout and watch some shows, etc. And we haven't done really any of that since, without her switching back and forth to her phone, and it's like she's a different person. She barely wants to go out to go to the store, I believe because she's so consumed by talking to these guys, and spending an hour at the store means she has to play catch up with her texts. I definitely want to get ahead of any issues and identify the warning signs I'm seeing. I don't want to do what you said and wait too long to try and find the woman I married again. Because I'm afraid I will never find her. I will certainly look into therapy, as lots of others have suggested. It does appear we hit a fork in the road, and chose different paths. I wish you all the best, and your story does give me hope that if she is unhappy with me, and we don't make it through this, I'll be okay.